Alright fellas, Jake Paul just made his return against Chavez Jr. and it went just as well as we were all expecting. Now, the Paul camp are brilliant promoters. They managed to convince the boxing world that once again that a Jake Paul opponent would actually stand a chance. But as always, he was really no threat to Jake. Although, this performance will surprisingly see Jake officially ranked by at least the WBA. And post-fight, he called out the likes of Badu Jack, Zerto, Joshua and Tank. With so many potential names in the mix, there's a lot of paths for him to go down. So we need to break it all down, what happened in the fight, and more importantly, what this means for Jake's career moving forwards. Just quickly though, if you don't know, my name's Cloister and I make boxing videos to help you stay informed, so make sure to subscribe and I will always keep you in the loop. Now, from a common sense perspective, this fight was always destined to go the way it did. If you vaguely followed Chavez Jr.'s career over the last, say, half a decade, you would have seen his decline. Even to the likes of Uriah Hall, Chavez Jr. was no threat. And it was clear why the Jake camp chose him. He was undersized, horrifically past his prime, mentally weak, and had little to no chance at truly winning. Although, he had a hugely marketable name. And MVP Promotions did fantastic. They somehow managed to convince the boxing world once again that Chavez was a threat. With pretty much the whole public not really realizing his career was really over about a decade ago. And we saw exactly that in the fight. Although Chavez looked slightly more in shape compared to his last few outings, once the first round started it was clear it was just going to be more of the same. Chavez did not look prepared for the fight in the slightest, and Jake would take clear advantage of that. He switched into gear, just throwing jabs, 1-2s, simple combinations, over and over. What did Chavez do? He didn't do anything. Chavez for the first half of the fight was a glorified punching bag. He sat in front of Jake, throwing nothing and allowing Jake to just tee off on him. Occasionally Chavez would attempt to throw a hook which was really just telegraphed like a baseball pitch, but that was about it from him. What was clear though was the later the fight got, the more Jake got tired. Jake has a lot of muscle on him, which he packed on to fight Tyson. So to carry that muscle, it gets tiring. So by the last couple rounds, Jake basically had his hands at his hips, and this spurred on Chavez to actually try and throw a punch. And it was all a bit sad that Chavez was celebrating winning the 9th round. Like, he did nothing the whole fight, but hey, he won the 9th round, time to celebrate. But it was too little too late from Chavez. Jake won a clear unanimous decision win. Although, it was just more of the same from Jake, it was nothing new. I would debate Tyson looked more competitive than Chavez did for most of this fight. Chavez was a human punching bag for Paul, and the blueprint to beat Jake isn't that hard. He doesn't like pressure, you push him backwards and actually try to throw a punch and he panics. He doesn't like punches coming his way, but it's boxing. You can't swim without getting wet, you can't box without getting hit. But so far for most of his career he's managed to avoid much actual exchange. The second he fights someone who can vaguely pressure him, it's going to be a long night. So the question turns to after this, well, what now? Now Jake said a lot of names after the fight, and I mean a lot of names, and a lot of different names. Like saying you're willing to fight either lightweight Tank or heavyweight Joshua in the same sentence is pretty wild. So let's talk about what's most likely. One major consideration in all of this is he's going to be ranked, and to me that's pretty sad. Jake is going to be ranked at least by the WBA, at least that's what everyone's saying. Am I surprised with any of this? No, I'm not. The WBA president has been keen for ages now to put Jake in a position for a championship. Like, we're talking about the same belt president who just gave an honorary belt to Shakira. Why did he give a belt to Shakira? I don't know, but it's just all about attention. If Jake actually ranks anywhere near the top 10, I think it's a pretty big disgrace to boxing and to all genuine boxers. For all the boxers who climb the ranks genuinely, to be leapfrogged by a bloke who has yet to fight a competitive fight is just sad. The highest Tommy Fury was ever ranked was just inside the top 50, and Jake lost to him. And who has Jake versed since that loss? A 60-year-old Mike Tyson, a Chavez who didn't want to throw back, and he now deserves to be in the rankings? No, I don't think he does. But it will probably happen, and we're going to have to get used to it. If he does get that ranking, it's going to put him in a position to fight for a title, with him then being able to challenge Zerto, who was the co-main for this event. Yet in the post-fight presser, it sounded like they didn't like how Zerto didn't do much to help with promoting this event. And as well as this, I don't think it's a big enough fight to really get Jake off the couch, at least commercially. He knows he would lose to Zerto and it wouldn't gather too many eyes. So honestly, why risk it? Even though they did a face-off in the post-fight press conference, I just can't see it happening. As I said in my previous video, the most likely path I could see Jake following if he wants to go down the title route would be a fight against Badou Jack. In my opinion, he's probably the weakest current champion out of the cruiserweight division. Jack was a fantastic boxer a long time ago, but time catches up to all of us. He's almost now 42, he's undersized for the division. If Jake was going to take that risk for a belt, it would be against him. Although I think Jake would only have a slim puncher's chance, it's really his only chance at actually getting a belt. Although he would have to be ranked with the WBC for that to happen. And I guess over the upcoming days we will find out if he's actually ranked and if that is a possibility. Aside from the cruiserweight division, he did mention names such as Tank Joshua and Tommy Fury. So let's start with Joshua. Well, Joshua probably only has a few fights left at heavyweight. Although I could see this fight being likely for down the road, it wouldn't be next. It would be a cash out fight for both Paul and Joshua. It would be a huge promotion. Combine those two names and you probably sell at Wembley. Although I think it would go the same way the Ngannou fight went, at the end of the day, it's all about the money. If this fight ever does happen, it won't happen till at least late next year, if not the year after. Now, Tank is a genuine possibility. They had a deal signed which was meant to happen straight after the Roach fight. But then Tank drew his fight and of course that would have ruined the promotion for the potential Paul fight. So now he rematches Roach in a couple months. If he gets through Roach, I could see this fight happening next. It's relatively low risk for Paul, as it would be an exhibition. It would be a huge fight which would gather the eyes of the world, and it would be a relatively easy payday for both involved. In terms of the Tommy fight, I think it's unlikely. Tommy, from all reports, wants way too much money, and debatably the only reason the last fight happened was because it was bankrolled by the Saudis. And that was kind of before Turkey's intervention in the sport, for your information. But for either fighter, I don't think this is great for them. For Tommy, yes, it's a payday, but honestly, he shouldn't need it. He should grab onto that victory and hold it tight. And for Paul, most people have forgotten the loss. So why go risk it again when Tommy is a horrendous style matchup for him? If this fight happens again, I just see Jake getting his head jabbed off all night long. At the higher weight, he is even slower now. And after showing minimal improvements, honestly, I think it would be more of the same for Paul. If I had to guess what's next, I reckon it could be that Tank fight. We're going to have to wait till August and see the rematch to find out if it can happen, but it was almost over the line before. And I think this time round it would be pretty easy to make. Yet honestly, it's a hard one to pick what's next. There are so many options on the table with nothing really being obvious. But I think it will really just come down to what's the easiest fight for Paul, which will make the most noise. But I guess only time will tell. But now I want to hear what you think. Who do you think is next for Paul, and what did you think about this fight? I want to hear all your thoughts in the comments down below. I love reading all of them. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really does a ton to help the channel. Yet, thanks for watching fellas, and I'll catch you in the next one.